If your avoidant ex moved on quickly, you're probably asking yourself, will they regret it later? Because right now they moved on so fast that you feel discarded, replaced, or like you meant nothing to them at all. But looking fine after a breakup is not the same as being over you. And that's because moving on fast has less to do with how much they care and more to do with relief. Relief from how much pressure, guilt, or fear the relationship brought up in them. Looking back, you might start to remember how your ex was always managing a constant low hum of anxiety, as if at times they were a little on edge. Maybe you noticed how they got distant or seemed less affectionate. You asked if something was wrong. They said they were just tired or busy, as if you could feel them slowly becoming harder to reach emotionally. Now they've gone cold, distant, and they look fine like nothing has happened. And you're here thinking, if they're that happy now, they must have never loved me. They must have never cared because they look so relieved to get rid of me. And they are relieved. But it's not because you're gone. It's because the anxiety of the relationship is gone. Now, what's happening underneath is pretty specific. An avoidantly attached person calms themselves by creating distance and staying busy. New people, new activities, new routines, all of that keeps the anxiety at a distance. And in the short term, it genuinely works. They can start to settle down and feel better, but they're not processing what's happened between you. What's really happening is their subconscious is suppressing it through distractions, and feelings that get suppressed can eventually surface. And that's when regret can start to form. Now, this process is a little different for dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance, so I'll share a video for you to watch next right here. But right now, let's talk about what's happening when an avoidant immediately starts seeing someone new, because that can feel devastating. Now, rebounds are complicated, so I'll share another link to a deep dive on them also. Yet, what really matters most is this: a new person is not proof that what you had meant nothing. For an avoidant, a new relationship serves a very specific purpose in the early weeks after a breakup. It gives them a distraction, and they instinctively find distractions when they feel overwhelmed. Distractions can be work, hobbies, exercise, any number of things, including other people. What's really happening here is deactivation. Their subconscious keeps directing their attention toward distractions to protect them from the anxiety and pain they were feeling. But staying busy while suppressing emotions can take an enormous amount of mental and physical energy, and that is just not sustainable. And when it all becomes too much, they'll start to slow down, the relief fades, the loss becomes harder to avoid, and that sets the stage for them to see the relationship differently. And seeing the relationship differently is what allows that regret to emerge. Now, that usually happens in one of three windows, and I'll walk you through each one of those windows before the end of this video, because that's where most people misread the regret timeline. But before we get to those three windows, there's one thing we need to address first. The deeper question underneath this isn't about regret. It's about whether they even cared about you at all. So here's what I want you to know. For an avoidantly attached person, caring about you can still bring up anxiety when the relationship asks for things they struggle to give consistently. Reassurance when you're scared, talking about why they're acting distant, explaining why they're being less affectionate, deeper conversations about where the relationship is going. All of those moments can start to feel like pressure because they often experience them as being smothered, criticized, controlled, or at risk of disappointing you. And this is where you can begin to separate their true feelings from their actions, because you both can feel this attraction, chemistry, and share a strong emotional bond, but they may still pull away from you when it all becomes too much. And they're going to look fine when they do it. Now, what that makes most people do is panic, because leaving someone you love feels like a contradiction, and it creates an irrational, urgent pressure for you to do something. Because either this was real or it wasn't. You want to text them just to see if they respond. You want to check their profile, see what this new person looks like, compare yourself to them, figure out what that person has that you don't. You want to say something, anything, just to get a reaction, just to know you still exist in their head the way they exist in yours. But acting from that panic almost always makes things harder. It increases their anxiety and yours. It delays their processing regret, and it makes it harder for you to think clearly. Now, if you're sitting on that edge of panic, wanting to text them, check their profile, or compare yourself to their rebound, then I made the no contact safety net just for you. It tells you exactly what steps to take right now. The link is in the description if you feel like that's something that can help you. Now, let's talk about timing and when regret actually shows up. Because if an avoidant does feel regret, it rarely shows up when you expect it to. Most people assume a person would feel that regret and loss in the first few days after a breakup. But that is not really how avoidance works. The early weeks are often the best they've felt in months. They're not sitting in grief. They're decompressing, deactivating, distracting. Now, remember, you'll want to watch the video on dismissive avoidance versus fearful avoidance to go deeper here. But to catch you up and make this simple, I'll explain it this way. Regret tends to surface in one of three windows. The first window is when the relief fades. They settle down and things are starting to feel quiet again. This means the distraction has run its course, and they start to feel your absence is actually there in its place. Now, the second window is when a new relationship hits its first real friction. It moves beyond casual, and the new person, the new relationship, starts to trigger those same subconscious fears. The pressure starts to build again, and they may begin comparing what they have now to what they had with you. The third window is when they've slowed down and something cuts through the day-to-day noise and reminds them of you. This is sort of like nostalgia. A place, a song, seeing something that you'd shared, that brings back the real memory of the relationship, not the anxiety, but the parts that actually mattered. Now, none of these windows are guaranteed to happen, but they are predictable because we know what must happen for an avoidant to feel regret. Now, if you're contacting them asking for reassurance, answers, closure, or a big emotional conversation too soon, it will backfire. It brings back all the pressure and they pull away even harder. That's why no contact is so important. It allows you to stop worrying about why they moved on so fast, and it gives them time to feel the loss and start to miss you. Now, as that's happening, you'll want to keep watching for the signs of regret because they're never obvious. Most people expect a text, an apology, or a big emotional confession, but avoidant regret starts much smaller than that, while they still look calm, quiet, or distant. And if you're only looking for the big confession, you may miss those smaller signs that regret has already started. So in the next video, I'll show you the early signs an avoidant is starting to regret losing you, why those signs are easy to miss, and what not to do when you finally notice them. Now, if you felt like this video helped you, let me know in the comments and give it a thumbs up because it really helps me know what content to make next for you.